So you've played Reyna for thousands of games, but you're still at the same low rank that you've always been. Why are you playing at the same level this whole time when you could be playing Reyna like an Immortal and Radiant? We're going to break down all the tactics that the top level Reyna players use and compare how they play this agent versus the average Joe. Thanks to our community Discord, we were able to gather VoDs from our viewers, and we have a Diamond 3 Reyna named Typed that we're going to be breaking down. Thanks to everyone for your submissions, and now let's get into it. To get this started, we realised that Diamond 3 is no small feat. However, even at these ranks, there are still some mistakes being made and areas for improvement. For the most part at these higher ranks, you'll see that Reyna players really nail down the basics. In the pistol round, Typed is at the front of her team where she should be when on the attack. The way for Reyna players to be more effective is when they can blind enemies, create space, and tank damage for the team. If you're at the back of your team, you won't be able to accomplish this as your teammates will be the ones targeted first. In the front, you can throw your Leah in the most optimal position to blind enemies, plus be the first contact to tank health, in which you can then heal up afterwards, essentially grabbing free kills without casualties. Type does a great job of going in for the first team and sending in her Leah ahead of time to help her grab the frag. From there, she charges on it, checking her angles to clear out the site for the rest of the team to come in. Great way to start out the round, but here's where things start to fall apart. When defending the site, it's best to set up crossfires so that regardless of where you and your teammate can win an aim duel, there'll be someone to help get the frag, which increases your odds of winning. To start things off, there wasn't really any communication from the team overall on who's holding what. As a result, the enemy team gets multiple picks for free because Typed's teammates are trying to hold multiple places at once. Particular for the poor Sage, whose wall was broken and she was forced to check her front and back simultaneously as she wasn't sure if she was going to be covered. Typed also ends up going for an individual duel herself and unfortunately loses it. This isn't only Typed's fault though, as again, it really comes down to communication. Had everyone revealed what they were holding or called for a certain setup, the individual duels could have been avoided. For example, while Sage's position wasn't optimal, she could have held the site itself with Typed and gotten a crossfire setup to get an easier chance of fragging out, especially considering there were still 5 enemies swarming in. The other teammates should have held the Sage wall since it was broken and protect the Sage's back once they go through the wall, rather than when they were still behind it. Since only one block was broken, the entryway is very narrow, allowing for easier aim and kills if someone tries to push through it. This sort of setup and communication would have made it much easier to hold the site, but instead, they played individually and players got caught in the back. In the higher ranks like Typed is in, we see that most Reyna are aggressive and in the forefront, like we would want for them to utilise their ability to the fullest potential. This is great, but another piece to take advantage of that kit is letting your team know exactly what sort of pushes or plays you're going to do. If you try to go in on your own, it's really up to you and only you to go into the site and grab frags. Typed starts off this round with a bang, throwing Leah after Leah to blind nearby enemies and push through onto the site. All looks well at the start until we look at the map and look at her team's position and setup. Raze, Sage, and Kaio are quite a few steps behind, leaving them in a poor position to help trade Reyna out. Along with that, Viper is lurking in the middle and hadn't even put her wall up to block off ramps and heaven during the push. As a result, Typed is forced to check a bazillion angles at once, and sure enough the timing isn't on her side and she turns at the wrong time when an enemy on site picks her off. There wasn't any communication prior to the start of this round, which is likely why there were gaps in the attack. Yep, even in ranks as high as Diamond, you're going to find communication issues. It's an aspect of the game that nearly every player needs to work on if they want to get to the top of the ranks. A common misconception that players have is that duelists should have insane aim and be carrying the team dropping 30 or even 40 to 50 bombs a match. Really, their role is more about creating opportunities and space for her and her team to get frags. This means that for a duelist to really shine, they need to communicate and make sure their team has their back, even if they go down without grabbing frags. If Reyna is able to push enemies into uncomfortable positions that make it easier for the team to follow up and frag out, she's done her job. Without assistance from anyone, Reyna will struggle to clear out big spike sites like A on Split, as there's just too much to look out for unless she gets some help. Moving along, now while most of Reyna's kit is really for buffing herself, her Leah can still be used to help her team peak for kills. This sounds straightforward, but even at ranks like Diamond and Platinum, we see most Reynas will only Leah for themselves. It's a common habit we see that's easy to develop because the rest of her kit is only to help herself. Typed gets a call from KO that someone is in the middle, and seeing that KO is coming up to heaven to help her out, a good move would have been to immediately Leah behind her so that they could both peek together for an easy frag. The other option would have been to have pushed out at the same time as KO, seeing and listening that he was going to peek out, although a Leah would have been the safest and most effective option. Instead, what happens is that KO calls out someone in mid, and Typed peeks too late and KO is already killed off. From there, Typed goes for a surprise follow-up peek to try to trade KO out, which is the best move to do afterwards. However, ends up whiffing unfortunately, and Skye wins the 1 vs 2. The second part should have worked, but with the earlier methods we mentioned, it would have been a free kill with 0 casualties rather than a 1-for-1 in this typical situation if we disregard the whiff. Make sure to use your Leer when you need them, but also make sure to think further outside the box and think of ways you can use it in a more coordinated fashion with the team. This will lead to much more successful team-based play rather than the more, hey, I'm Reyna, time to solo carry type of play that we see in the lower ranks. Now, if there's one aspect of high-ranked Reynas that really differentiates her from the lower-ranked Reynas, it's going aggressive and dismissing immediately after a pick. Commonly, lower elo players will immediately go for a heal after a kill, thinking that they want to have more health for the next battle. Makes sense, but it's likely that these players aren't quite going aggressive enough, and in their certain scenarios the heal is better. However, the top level Reynas go very aggressive, sometimes going for absolutely bonkers peaks where they may see more than one player at once. This is actually okay if it's timed properly, where Reyna gets the initial one-on-one aim duel before support shows up. Typed does this exceptionally well, going for madman peaks and challenges against enemies. She grabs the kill and then will immediately dismiss to get to safety to avoid getting traded. Similarly to how Jett would use her dash for the same purpose, healing is a poor choice as you take away your escape route and now have to get into another engagement immediately where you could potentially get overwhelmed and traded out. Like Typed, we encourage lower ranked players to try to go more aggressive and have their dismiss button more readily accessible than their heal to get into the habit of taking advantage of this ability that is super annoying for enemies to deal with since they're forced to watch you pick their teammate off and get away unscathed. Now that we've gone through Typed's strengths and areas to work on, let's see what a Radiant Reyna looks like as they avoid making those same mistakes. This game is going to be from a Radiant level Smurf commentary that we have available on our website, so if you want to catch the full thing there, you can find it on SkillCapped.com. Our Radiant player today is Jaden, and the first thing to note is that Jaden plays Reyna as more of the team-based fashion that we were talking about. Just because you're a duelist, it doesn't mean you have to do everything on your own. Jaden is constantly communicating with his team and asks for assistance if need be. On defense, he consistently coordinates plays with his Phoenix to ensure they snag shower control every single round. With two players, this has a much higher success rate, plus the rotation is quick and easy to get back to help a short if need be. Another example in this round is where Jaden asks for a Sova dart down B long to help him snag some kills. No one shows up, but if they did, they would be in quite some trouble. Jaden ensures that his team is able to help and that they know what he's planning to do at all times. Jaden also goes for aggressive players to then dismiss out of, and particularly keeps good awareness of the overall situation when doing so. In this round, Jaden calls for his teammate to defuse and knows he has to go aggressive to help defend them. As a result, he goes for that quick kill and dismiss, but he knows he can't stay in this form for long as he needs to save his teammate. Jaden gets off his dismiss immediately when it's safe to do so, and while his teammate did end up going down, he got the trade quickly before Sage could spray transfer to secure the round. Now, we have talked a lot about being aggressive and creating space, but there's also times where it's okay to back away and relax a bit. You don't always have to charge in with Reyna and seek kills, especially if you're going for a kill that's high risk, such as if you were going to do an unnecessary peek while holding down a site. Jaden initially tries to go for a trade kill in showers against the enemy Jett, but fails. Knowing that they have an operator, Jaden decides to fall back into a safer position as aggressing further on the sniper would likely lead to death. Along with that, Jett was delaying for such a long time that her teammates are likely to be fully rotated and Jaden would be surrounded if he stayed. The new position at Pocket now sets up a crossfire with his team and allows for easy kills as the enemy tries to push onto site. And last but not least, Jaden does an incredible job of constantly seeking out 1v1 duels. Reyna really shines in these situations where she can constantly heal back up after a fight. Yes, we just said to dismiss more, but if the coast is clear and you're low health, then healing is definitely preferable. The hyper-aggressive peaks is where dismissing is the better choice. Multiple 1v1s while Reyna can constantly heal up is where she will dominate. Jaden accomplishes this by thoroughly checking each angle and making sure he doesn't overextend himself so that multiple players can see him. In this round, he is able to get 5 1v1 duels, which gave him the best odds of clutching up, which he successfully does to win a close game. That's all we have for this video. We hope you took something away and learned from today's guide. Make sure to like, subscribe and hit the bell icon to get more premium guides just like this one with one goal in mind, helping you become a better player. We here at SkillCapped want to thank you for watching. We'll catch you in the next one and good luck out there.